And he was actually in possession of a firearm that was the actual cause of death, and we're currently working on getting the incident report to corroborate that. But it's the case basically that Doug had been in possession of a 12-gauge shotgun, and it had actually originally belonged to you, and that he came into possession of it at some point later, and he had it with him all the time. Can you get into a little bit of that before we kind of close things off for this portion of the interview?
Yes, sir. What had happened when Lorissa was having problems in Florida, and I was going back and forth from Virginia. At one point, I left a Mossberg 12-gauge shotgun in Florida for protection. When these things happened to me in Virginia, the few firearms I had in the house, we had removed. There were no firearms in the house. Now, when Doug came from Florida, he brought the shotgun with him. As we mentioned before, Jonathan, about a month before everything happened, and I knew that Doug was getting irate. I knew he had the shotgun in Virginia. I tried to get the shotgun removed from the house. Lorissa, even though she knew that Doug was verbally abusing her, was somewhat convinced that Doug would not go that far. So against my wishes, she was able to manage to persuade me to go ahead and not have the shotgun removed from the apartment.
And this was primarily because the particular area where the apartment was also kind of a lower part of town, and there was the possibility of potential home invasion, and she felt that that was the only protection that she had. Now, however, she had never fired a pump shotgun before in her life. Sir. Yeah, you were actually responsible for training her in some small arms usage.
Yes, sir. She was an excellent shot. Her father was a gun collector, so she grew up around guns. But she and I would go out to my range, and I would teach her gun safety, but it was limited strictly to handguns. No shotguns, no long arms. Yes. She, honestly, I can say, did not know how to load one, did not know how to cock one, didn't know anything about it.
It does take a fair amount of arm strength to actually do that. And I'm not saying that she lacked the arm strength, but there is a particular peculiarity to the kind of muscle motion involved in pumping a shotgun like that. And if you don't have a good long arm span, it's very difficult to do, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah. And also, it's a process. And it's like I said, I know Doug kept the shotgun loaded, but and I do say Doug because he kept that shotgun with him at his side constantly. Even friends of theirs in Florida would verify that. But yes, the shotgun, you have to pull the pump back and bring it back up, what's commonly referred to as the ka-chung, and of course it makes a tremendous amount of noise in doing so. The reason I've mentioned the noise factor is because on November 3rd, when Lorissa's life was taken from us, Doug had several alibis. One of his alibis that he had was that the sound of a shotgun going off woke him up. That alibi was broken by the Waverly police when they asked Doug, well, if that's how he woke up, how did your fingerprints get on the shotgun? How did powder burns get on your skin? How did blood spray get on you? And which Doug changed his alibi, to my understanding, that Lorissa had the shotgun, and as he was trying to take it away from her, it accidentally went off. But I have heard from sources, that reliable sources, that Doug's fingerprint was on the trigger, not Lorissa's.
Yes. And circumstances like that are things that in ordinary cases should be kind of a slam dunk case. You have motive, you have opportunity, and just for everybody's general information, his place of employment was a little less than a block away from where the apartment was. So the notion that he was away at work when this happened, which was, it is a common misconception, would be a little bit hard to swallow, considering that it tends to imply that he was away at work, like on the other side of town, something like that. This was in close proximity, and we actually have it corroborated from Doug's employer, Glenn, that he was not at work that day.
No. There were two phone calls made that morning by Lorissa. On the night of November 2nd, I was on the phone with her, and Doug had said that the car broke down, that he had to have people pushing into the yard. When Lorissa told me that, I contacted my father to see about, and Glenn's Texaco Way is a full-service gas station.
Yes.
You have mechanics on duty, bodymen on duty. No one there knew that the car was having any problems.
Yes.
But we made it a point. We said, well, even though the car is only parked about a block away, we would have Glenn's wrecker come by and pick it up, and we would have the mechanics look at it. Mm-hmm. Again, I like to state, this is the same garage that Doug worked at. I called my dad to let Dad know. Dad said it wasn't a problem. We would pick it up in the morning. Now, we have to wait a half hour between phone calls at the prison.
Yes.
We just can't call one person after another. So after that half hour, I called Lorissa back up. I let her know not to worry about it. Call Dad the next morning and thank him that we had it all taken care of. At 10 o'clock that morning, Lorissa called my dad. Dad said, yeah, he had already contacted Glenn, that they were going to send the wrecker over to the house and get the car. Dad said that she sounded fine. She sounded like she'd been up all night. Now, but other than that, she seemed to be in good spirits. At that point, Lorissa called Glenn's, because Doug had been up all night drinking and cussing her out. All the neighbors complained about it. Mm-hmm. Lorissa called at right before 10:30 to inform Glenn that Doug was sick and couldn't come in that morning, but that Dad was going to have the car dropped off. Glenn knew what it meant when Doug was sick. I mean, he was still too drunk to come to work. Doug was home. And after that phone call, and I spoke with Glenn about it, and Glenn even said the same thing, that all Lorissa could talk about previously before that was that I was coming home, and she was excited. And Glenn even said that morning that she sounded better than she had sounded in months. She did not sound depressed. She was not crying. She was still in a very elated mood. And at 10:30, my father had made it to Glenn's. We were a little ways out of town. My father was in Glenn's when the police and ambulances pulled up to Lorissa's apartment. And that's when they found out. I was notified later that day, about 5 o'clock that evening. Doug originally was taken into custody. Again, like I said, he changed his alibi 3 times. The first 2 we discussed. Yes. The third alibi that I understand he said that he told the police was that he had been on a drunk for 3 days and he couldn't remember anything.
Yes. And that was the one that he eventually stuck to.
Yes, sir.
At